Have you ever found yourself getting worked up in a discussion, not because the topic mattered to you so much, but because it felt personal? The Buddha understood this syndrome well. Indeed, one of his most surprising teachings was to give up clinging to views, even to the right views. But what does it really mean to let go of your views? Are we then not supposed to believe anything? In this video, we're going to look at the Buddha's surprising and nuanced view about views, why it's important, and how it can help us live better lives and make the world a better place. Having strong views and being opinionated is often seen as virtuous nowadays. People talk about speaking your truth or living your beliefs and so on. But the Buddha repeatedly warned not just against wrong views, but also against clinging to the right ones. This is one of the more counterintuitive and powerful aspects of early Buddhist Dharma. But what exactly are views? The word for view, or ditthi, is often used in a negative sense to refer to those views that are incorrect or out of line with reality. However, in its broadest sense, the word view was used in early Buddhism to mean any and all views of the way the world was, any and all beliefs, especially those that we identified with personally. As we'll see, even right view, which is the first stage in the Eightfold Path, is something that should not be clung to in this sense. But how are we supposed to hold our views if we're not going to cling to them? Because the Buddha certainly didn't intend for us to give up all of our beliefs entirely. The Buddha himself clearly had many views, beginning with right view itself, as I say, the first stage in the Eightfold Path, and the Four Noble Truths, which each of them expressed a kind of a viewpoint about the way the world is. But the Buddha warned us not to identify with our views. Now, what does it mean to identify with your views? It means, among other things, to take it personally, or to get reactive when our views are challenged by other people. A key text here is the Alagadupama Sutta, which is the sutta on the water snake, or the cobra, depending on how you translate it. It's an incredibly rich sutta with many similes and points being made in it. Perhaps one of the biggest points is the point that's made in the title itself about the water snake, the simile of the water snake. Here the Buddha talks about somebody who needs a snake for some purpose. The Buddha says there are two ways to approach that snake. If we approach it incorrectly, if we grab it in the wrong way, the snake is going to turn around and bite us with very painful or possibly even fatal results. And this is a simile for an incorrect way to grasp the Dharma. In this sense, the Buddha says that the person who is grasping the Dharma incorrectly is doing so for the sake of finding fault with other people and winning debates. This sort of grasp implies a poor understanding of what the Dharma is really about. On the other hand, one could approach this snake, this water snake, in a skillful way and grasp it so that it cannot bite us. In that sense, in that way, if we grasp the snake rightly, we can make use of it to help us in whatever way we need the snake to help us. Now, the Buddha says that this is comparable to the person who understands the Dharma correctly, who understands the various points made. And this sort of person, the Buddha says, examines their meaning with wisdom and comes to an acceptance of them, that is, the points of the Dharma, after deliberation. He doesn't memorize the teaching for the sake of finding fault and winning debates. He realizes the goal for which he memorized them. Because they're correctly grasped, those teachings lead to his lasting welfare and happiness. Note that the Buddha says that this person here comes to an acceptance of the Dharma, but he's implying that he doesn't cling to it, he doesn't identify with it. That is to say, he doesn't become irritated when other people attack him, he doesn't use it to attack other people, and he doesn't get puffed up about it either. And here's where we come to the crux of the matter when it comes to the distinction between clinging to views on the one hand and holding them lightly or simply coming to an acceptance of them on the other. The person who clings to views is the person who identifies with them emotionally, thinks of those views as theirs, as their property, and so tends to take it personally when those views are attacked, or uses them as a kind of a cudgel against other people. As the Buddha goes on to say, "So, mendicants, if others abuse, attack, harass, and trouble you, don't make yourselves resentful, bitter, and emotionally exasperated. Or if others honor, respect, revere, or venerate you, don't make yourselves thrilled, elated, and emotionally excited. If they praise you, just think they do such things for us regarding what in the past was completely understood." In other words, don't take things so personally. The views that you're expressing are simply the views that many other people have understood and expressed before you in the past. They're not yours, they're not your possessions. And perhaps the key simile in the Alagadupama Sutta, the most famous one, is the Sutta of the raft. The raft is the raft that we use to cross the river of samsara. The raft stands for the Dharma itself. Even the Dharma itself is not to be clung to. We're to make use of it to cross the river of samsara to the farther shore of enlightenment. But once we get to that farther shore, we're not supposed to carry the Dharma around on our backs as though it were some kind of talisman. Instead, we're supposed to leave it. That is to say, we're supposed to not cling to it. But we might wonder why this clinging to views is so problematic, so dangerous. Well, it's dangerous, problematic for several reasons. The first of these we've already seen expressed by the Buddha, where he says that if we cling to these or identify these views with these views, we tend to make ourselves resentful, bitter, emotionally exasperated, or thrilled, elated, and emotionally excited, depending on how other people react to us. That is, it binds our emotional states to the reactions of other people. And this is one of the ways that clinging to views, clinging to anything in fact, but certainly in this case clinging to views, is a kind of bondage. Clinging to views can also lead to argument, conflict, enmity, and suffering as parties to a debate. Each of them takes their position personally and uses it as a cudgel to attack the other. Each of our arguments becomes a vehicle for conceit, or the comparing mind, trying to figure out if we're better than them or they're better than us, whether we can defeat them in a debate or whether they'll defeat us in a debate. This personalizes our acceptance of views. It turns views into, again, a vehicle for conceit, for self-righteousness. In so doing, it also leads to a hardening around the views that we already hold, which can make it difficult or even impossible to give those views up, even in the face of counter-evidence. It also makes any attempt at deeper understanding of the truth much more difficult as a result. This syndrome in psychology is known as the backfire effect. As one psychologist put it recently, being presented with facts, whether via the news, social media, or one-on-one conversations, that suggest their current beliefs are wrong, causes people to feel threatened. This reaction is particularly strong when the beliefs in question are aligned with your political and personal identities. It can feel like an attack on you if one of your strongly held beliefs is challenged. Confronting facts that don't line up with your worldview may trigger a backfire effect, which can end up strengthening your original position and beliefs. In this sense, letting go of clinging to views is part and parcel of letting go of conceit, of I-making, of mine-making. We tend to think of our relationship to views, of view-holding, as a purely intellectual process. But in fact, as we see, much of our holding to views is emotion-driven, is driven by our sense of personal identity and our sense of conceit, of comparing ourselves to others around us and whose views we think are better or worse. We then feel personally attacked when our views are contradicted by someone else. Or we feel personally exalted and validated when our views are agreed to by people around us. Well, given all the pitfalls that we've seen with views, how can we use them properly? That is, how can we grasp this snake without it turning around and biting us? I have 4 general suggestions here. The first one is to take views provisionally. That is to say that the views that we hold, the beliefs that we hold given their usefulness to us, the way that they make the world easier to navigate in a better place. It's not to hold them as necessarily absolute truths. Second, we can practice examining our views regularly. That is, we can ask ourselves, is this viewpoint of ours leading to greed on our part? Is it leading to hatred for others? Is it leading to various kinds of delusion? Or instead, is it leading us towards peace and clarity? Third, we can practice humility. That is, practice considering for ourselves that our views, no matter how well-reasoned they may appear to us, are almost certainly incomplete and erroneous in some regard. Fourth, we can practice compassion. That is, to try to recognize that other people around us with different views are also trying to do the best they can, given the views that they have been presented with in their lives. That is, the point of views, as the Buddha says, is not to win debates with other people. It's instead to help lead us all out of suffering. Insofar as a view isn't helping in that regard, we should probably hold it with some suspicion. Views are essential to our practice. Indeed, the whole of the Buddhist path, all of the Buddhist Dharma, is expressed by means of views. All of the suttas are various views that are expressed to us. The Eightfold Path, the Four Noble Truths, and so on are all basically views, compiled, numbered in front of us that we can make use of in our practice. But crucially, we're expected in a sense to outgrow even these. Now, this raft that we're using to cross the river of samsara is not the sort of thing that we should abandon in mid-river, of course. That would lead to our drowning in samsara. But being aware of this, neither should we worship the Dharma. We should simply be aware of it as a technique, as something we can make use of to help end suffering. So my question to you is, which of your own beliefs has felt sticky to you or somehow self-defining? Is there a way that you can help relax around those views? Have you found a way to do so in the past? Or can you see your way through to helping that right now? If you have a method, let us know down in the comments. And if you want to hear more about one practice of letting go of views by the great meditation master Ajahn Chah from Thailand a while back, talking about this idea of not being sure, a mind of uncertainty, I have a video about that, and I'll leave a link to it up here on the screen if you haven't seen it or would like to refresh your memory. If you're getting something out of these videos of mine, consider taking a look at my Patreon page, which is linked up here on the screen and down below in the notes, and see if you want to help support the channel and the work that I'm doing here. Thanks to you all, and we'll catch you in the next video, and meanwhile, all of you, be well.